Welcome to Walvis on Wire. Today we're talking about a statement from Party Islam, See Malaysia Youth, or PAS Youth. Their chief, Afnan Hamimi, has come out strongly, voicing solidarity with figures like Hilman and also the United Malays National Organization Youth Chief, Datuk Akmal Saleh. The core message seems to be that the legal actions against them, well, they're calling it a clear form of suppression of free speech.
Exactly. And they're arguing it clashes directly with, the democratic spirit a government talking about reform principles should really embody.
Right. So we're going to jump straight into the implications here. We'll assume you, listening, already know the basics about the arrests and charges.
Yes. The goal here isn't just to recount facts, but to sort of unravel what this all means for public discussion, for political expression in Malaysia.
Especially with young leaders at the forefront.
Absolutely. It's about understanding the different viewpoints and what this signals for the country's direction.
Okay, so let's just quickly recap the legal side that triggered this reaction. Hilman, he was brought to court. What exactly was the charge?
He was charged under Penal Code Section 505B. Basically, the accusation is that he made statements, specifically on a TikTok account called alpha.channel.tv.
Okay.
Statements that could potentially cause public fear or, maybe incite people to commit offenses against public order.
And what's the penalty for something like that?
Well, if found guilty, it could be up to 2 years in prison, potentially a fine, or even both. It's not insignificant.
Definitely not. And what was Hilman's reaction when he was actually in court?
Oh, he pleaded not guilty straight away, declared he would fight it, said something like, "I will contest and request a trial." So very firm.
Standing his ground. So what was the specific event? Where did this TikTok statement actually come from?
It wasn't just some random post. The charge traces back to a speech he made on July 29th. This was during a protest outside the Dang Wangi District Police Headquarters. The event itself had a very pointed name. Reject Sedition Act, Unity Night.
Okay, so the context is important.
Very. That protest was organized specifically to show solidarity with 4 other individuals who'd been arrested under the Sedition Act after an earlier event, the anti-Anwar rally.
So it's all interconnected.
Deeply. Hillman's speech was part of this larger wave of activism against the Sedition Act.
And there was quite a show of support for him at the courthouse, too, wasn't there?
Yes, definitely. Dozens of supporters turned up. And notably, Dato Seri Azmin Ali, the Secretary General of Party Pribumi Bersatu Malaysia, was there.
Right. Having someone like Azmin Ali there really sends a message.
It certainly elevates it beyond just an individual legal matter, shows broader political backing.
Okay, so this brings us squarely to the reaction from PAS Youth. They put out a really strong statement. What was the absolute core of their message?
Their chief, Afnan Hamimi, was explicit. He stated PAS Youth stands in solidarity with both Hilman and UMNO Youth Chief Akmal Saleh.
Right.
And their main point, their central argument, is that these legal actions are nothing less than suppression of free speech.
And they tied this back to the government's own platform.
Yes, directly. They argued it contradicts the whole spirit of democracy and openness that a government promoting reform principles should be upholding. It's a direct challenge to the government's narrative.
Interesting. So they're reframing the criticism from these young leaders? It's not a threat in their eyes?
Not at all. Afnan Hamimi specifically said these criticisms shouldn't be seen as threats. Instead, he framed them as demonstrating a sense of responsibility.
Responsibility towards what?
Towards national sovereignty and the federal constitution. So they're positioning these critical voices not as disruptive, but actually as, patriotic, fulfilling a duty.
That's quite a reframing. So how does PAS Youth interpret the government's motives then? Why bring these charges now?
Their take is pretty blunt. They believe bringing these leaders to court only shows the government's intolerance towards public voices. That's a direct quote, essentially.
Intolerance.
Yes. Afnan Hamimi argued it suggests a government that prefers using legal intimidation over rational debate. It's a strong accusation basically saying the government is using the law to silence critics instead of engaging with them.
Okay. And beyond the criticism, what are they asking the government to do? Is there a call to action?
There is. It's partly a plea, partly a warning. Afnan Hamimi stressed the government needs to seriously listen to every piece of criticism and concern from the people.
Especially from young people.
Especially from the youth, yes.
No.
He highlighted that young Malaysians are becoming more engaged in national affairs, and he warned that suppressing free speech will only tarnish the reputation of the Malaysia Madani government.
Linking it directly to the Malaysia Madani brand.
Precisely. The implication is clear. You can't claim to be building this progressive civil society while simultaneously clamping down on free expression. True democracy, he argued, needs free speech to thrive.
So this unity, this solidarity they're showing, what's the bigger picture goal for PAS youth here?
According to their statement, it's about jointly defending democracy, striving for freedom of speech. That's the immediate aim.
In longer term?
Longer term, it's to ensure youth voices continue to be heard and ultimately to push Malaysia towards a more just and open future. So they're positioning themselves as champions for youth participation and democratic space.
Right, so if we zoom out now and connect these dots, you have a government talking about reforms, but then you have these legal actions against young, vocal political figures. What does this whole situation tell us about where Malaysia stands on freedom of expression right now?
Well, it really throws that tension into sharp relief, doesn't it? You have the government's stated commitment to reform principles, to openness, but then you have laws like Section 505B being used.
Laws aimed at maintaining public order.
Exactly. And that creates this very, very fine line. Where does legitimate criticism end and inciting public disorder begin? This case forces us to look really hard at where that boundary is drawn.
And crucially, how it's being enforced. Is it consistent?
That's the key question. Is the law being applied evenly, or is there a perception, at least among some groups, that it's being used selectively against critics? It prompts a really critical examination of legal application.
And it definitely puts the spotlight on young people in politics.
Oh, absolutely. The fact that it's Hilman, Akmal Saleh, younger leaders at the center of this really highlights the growing political voice of Malaysian youth.
They're becoming much more visible, more vocal.
Definitely. And how the state responds now sets a precedent. It sends a signal about how much space there really is for youth political engagement, especially critical engagement.
So the question becomes, how do you ensure those voices are heard, genuinely considered, without resorting to legal actions that large parts of the population might see as, well, heavy-handed or suppressive?
That's the balancing act. And the outcome here could really impact how much trust young people place in democratic institutions moving forward. It's quite significant.
When you look at all of this, the legal side, the political statements, the youth angle, what's the one thing that really stands out to you, the most crucial takeaway, perhaps?
For me, it's the underlying debate about what responsible speech actually means in Malaysia today. And tied to that, what constitutes patriotism.
Interesting. Explain that a bit more.
Well, is being patriotic simply about supporting the government of the day? Or does it also involve speaking out, even critically, when you believe core principles like the Constitution or national sovereignty are at stake? PAS Youth is clearly arguing for the latter.
So it's more than just a legal fight.
Much more. It's fundamentally a contest over the national narrative, over who gets to define legitimate dissent, and especially what role young people play in shaping Malaysia's democratic path.
So to recap, we've looked at the charges against Hilman and Datuk Akmal Saleh and really unpacked that strong reaction from PAS Youth, framing this whole situation as a major test for free speech here.
Yes, it's a complex interplay between maintaining legal order and protecting that fundamental right to expression. It's playing out very publicly, forcing a national conversation.
A conversation about what a truly democratic and open society should look like, especially when you have critical voices coming from, well, different political camps.
Indeed. It's a tension inherent in any democracy, I think. How do you manage dissent while maintaining stability? Malaysia's navigating that right now.
So as things develop, the big question hanging over all this is, how can Malaysia ensure critical voices aren't just silenced, but are actually heard and considered while still keeping public order? What does this mean for that whole Malaysian Madani vision?
It means finding that balance. A future that's truly Madani presumably needs to accommodate open dialogue, even uncomfortable dialogue, alongside stability. How that balance is struck in cases like these will be telling.
Definitely something to keep watching. Remember to like and subscribe for more videos like this.